Sometimes, especially when you're dealing with reality TV or documentaries, there's not passes to mark. When you're doing narrative or advertising content, when you're doing scripted content, we have a specific performance in mind, and then we do that performance multiple times. That works really well for marking takes. That gets a lot harder to do in reality TV shows and documentaries because those aren't initially scripted. Reality TV shows, maybe some, arguably, but people aren't doing the same thing multiple times usually. Usually something happens and that's the only time that it happened and it's done. So you're going to want select sequences. You even want these for narrative scripted stuff, but especially unscripted stuff. Select sequences are super helpful. What select sequences are, is they are a selection of all of the best footage. It's not an assembly cut. It's not trying to be anything. It's basically just a curated library to give the editor a place to start from. Again, if you're the assistant editing for an editor, then you know the footage and they don't. So you're trying to give them a curated list. Maybe our target runtime is 30 minutes. Your select sequence will still be a few hours long, but what you're doing is you're taking 50 hours of footage and giving the editor some place to start with. I did a couple of reality TV shows last year, and I did not assistant edit for myself. So when I was handed over the footage, 90% of my edit was reliant upon the select sequence that the assistant editor gave me. My episode was supposed to be, I think, 35 or 45 minutes long, and I had 3 select sequences, one for each day of filming, and each select sequence was 2 to 3 hours long. So I still had like 6 hours of footage, but that was cut down from the 15 hours of total footage. But what that select sequence did was it included all of the most heartwarming moments, it included all of the best parts from the interviews, and it organized it chronologically so that it would be easier for me to understand and put together the story. This was a very, very small 48-hour short film, and most of the footage was pretty easy to start off with. So we didn't even necessarily need select sequences, but the DIT who was on set in the middle of the night, keeping track of all of the footage so that I could sleep and come early in the morning to actually do the edit, he wanted to help me get a bit of a head start. So as he was logging all the footage for me so that I could find the markers and find all my takes quickly so that I could edit fast, he also threw together some select sequences so that I had sort of a base. I ended up taking these select sequences, putting all the clips together, and then rearranging them and throwing in new stuff when I didn't like what was already there. So the select sequences really did end up functioning as the basis for my assembly edits. A select sequence is not an assembly edit. It's not trying to be anything specific. You can see there are all kinds of dead space. This is 8 minutes long. It's just a couple of raw clips, but it's the best raw clips that the assistant editor thought would be most appropriate to start off with an assembly edit. He thought they were the best versions of the performances from the different camera angles. You can see there's pretty much one from each major camera angle here.